Good morning, students. Mrs. Loy here with another writing workshop e-lesson. So today we're going to be talking about how we support your claim. So if you remember from last week, we read The Telltale Heart together as a class, and I asked you to start gathering some evidence as to why you believed the narrator was sane and why you believed that the narrator might be mad. So now we're going to start to put that into practice as we think about building our literary analysis essay. As you take notes in your writing workshop today, here are the 4 goals that we hope to accomplish. So within this video today, you should be able to define the words claim, evidence, and connection within a literary analysis. The most important part of this video is going to be the connection, so make sure that you get that definition in your notebook. The second goal is to understand the connection between claim and supporting evidence. So within this video, Mrs. Rush-Levine from Chicago, Illinois, is going to talk about an analogy of a table and the table legs to help you understand just how important claim and supporting evidence can be within your literary analysis. Our next goal is to explain the structure of a literary analysis paragraph. There are 3 steps in connecting a claim to the literary analysis or to the evidence within your literary analysis. So let's jump in and take a peek at Mrs. Rush-Levine and figure out how we can become better at supporting our claim.
Today we'll be talking about tying evidence back to their claim. And so I'm going to start with sort of a story about going to IKEA and getting pieces of furniture, and that we can't really have a piece of furniture if it's not put together. So in particular, I have these tables in the room I got from IKEA, and the tabletops came separately from the table legs. And until I attached that support of the legs to the tabletop itself was pretty useless. I mean, it couldn't really function. And that's kind of the same way it works with claims. And if we just put support underneath them but don't attach that support, we're not going to have a functional claim. We're not going to be able to convey our claim to an audience. So the students are going to look at an example that we've worked with prior. We actually crafted a piece of a literary analysis essay, just a body paragraph on this, the novel If I Stay by Gail Forman. We read an excerpt and then just did kind of a model paragraph jointly as a class. So I'm going to go back to that body paragraph we drafted and show them how I would revise it to make the connection between that evidence and the claim even stronger. And then students will use a text that they read yesterday, Harlem by Langston Hughes, to practice that on their own before transferring that skill into their own writing. Okay. In writing, we're going to continue working on literary analysis essays. And so we're really working towards this idea of being able to cite textual evidence that is the strongest support of your analysis of the text. So we started out by doing analysis, actually kind of studying the text closely and looking at the parts and how those parts work together. You guys came up with a claim, and then you collected evidence. And as I was reading through your papers, I started to think about something. I was thinking about these tables. I'm guessing that even if you haven't been to IKEA, you might know a thing or two about IKEA. And IKEA sells furniture that you have to assemble yourself. I got these tables at IKEA, and they came in parts. I had to buy the tabletop, and then I bought the table legs, and the table legs come individually, so I had to get 4 table legs for each of those tabletops. And then I had the parts, right? I could have taken the tabletop and set it on the legs. But it wouldn't have been very sturdy. That tabletop would have come crashing down if I didn't connect the legs to the table. I actually had to do the work of assembling it and make that connection for these tables to be functional. And I started thinking about how our claims work the same way. That if we don't connect the evidence we have back to that claim, we end up with a weak claim. It could come crashing down if we don't make that connection for our readers. So today I want to go back and talk about how to strengthen that connection in our literary analysis essays so that each piece of evidence we're including is directly connected back to the claim. So what I did is I took the example, here's my tabletop and legs. You have sort of some notes that this is going to be kind of your guide. This is your toolkit for doing this step of connecting evidence back to the claim. And then we also have some other resources. I took a look immediately when I thought, okay, we have to strengthen this connection. How could I figure out how to do that? I could strengthen that connection by going back to those examples we have. We have two literary analysis essays, The True Meaning of Friendship and The Old Man and the Sea. So I took a look at The True Meaning of Friendship to see how did this writer connect the evidence back to the claim. And I found this spot here that I had marked that says that this is a reminder of the claim. The claim in this case, remember, was that the book, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, is more effective than the movie. And so in the midst of the evidence here, there's then sort of this reminder that, hey, this is support for the fact that the movie is weaker than the book. They keep reminding us that that is their point. So I went back to what we wrote together about If I Stay. We crafted this body paragraph together, and all of you have a copy of this. And I thought about all the places where we could make this even stronger. We drafted this, and it's good, but we can make it even stronger, just like everybody's draft. So I took just this first piece of evidence where we had talked about the metaphor of the crash being as strong as an atom bomb, and thought about how I could go back and tie it to the claim. So if I use this claim for If I Stay essay, that the book is more effective than the movie, then in my statement, I'm going to have to add at the end, I have my topic sentence, I introduce my evidence, I actually explain the evidence in a paraphrase form here, and then I show what that evidence means. I can add a sentence that now ties it back to that claim. So I decided to add that this evidence is important because this vivid detail, this evidence is important because this vivid detail is not conveyed in the movie. So I'm tying it back to this idea that my point is that the movie is not as good as what this piece of writing is. And whatever I write here to tie it back to the claim changes if my claim changes. So if I use a different claim, that Gail Foreman conveys the theme that sometimes some people have to make difficult choices, then I have to change what I put after that evidence. Notice that the same evidence could support multiple claims. So you have to make sure for your reader that you're connecting back to the claim that you wrote. So in this case, I added that this is significant because the crash results in a difficult choice for Mia when she finds out her parents have died. So I referred back to that idea of choice. Yesterday, you guys had some discussion about the poem Harlem by Langston Hughes, right? So this is where you're going to try this out before you transfer the skill into your writing. I want to kind of see if you guys have it. So we're going to pretend that there's a literary analysis essay we're working on, and this is the claim. That Harlem by Langston Hughes conveys the idea that putting off a dream is likely to be a negative experience. So I found some evidence that in this line about, or does it explode, that was that ending line, that to me sounded really negative. So I chose that evidence. So Hughes asks questions that reveal metaphors like this one, or does it explode? In this line, he compares a dream deferred to something that might explode like a bomb. I have my evidence. I explained my evidence. And now that third step is that we have to tie it back to the claim. So that's what I want you guys to try out. Just open your notebook. You're going to add a line that would come next after this sentence that could connect this evidence back to the claim. And then once I see that you've kind of gotten that, I'm going to come around and I'll just tap you on the shoulder, and then you can go ahead and move to find this lesson in your paper.